The Legend of Zelda was first released in Japan in 1986 and later in the United States in 1987, and it was the first of the Zelda series. The majority of the games are based in the land of Hyrule.
I want to bring you back to The Legend of Zelda. This game was released in 1986 in Japan and 1987 in the US. At that time, it was the biggest, most epic game ever. It was more than a game, it was an adventure. It captured our imaginations and immersed us into the fantasy world of Hyrule. Link, Princess Zelda, the evil Ganon, and the Triforce would become beloved Nintendo icons for generations to come.
By the standards of 1987, it offered a refreshing array of puzzles, adventures, and action play, which had not been seen before. Many in the industry see this as the leader to a wide variety of today's games, with the successful theme used in many additional non-Zelda games. The success of the Legend of Zelda series has been huge. The Legend of Zelda series has sold over 59 million copies since the release of the first game, The Legend of Zelda. The Legend of Zelda series consists of 15 official games on various Nintendo consoles as well as many spin-offs. Ocarina of Time is considered by some to be one of the first in the Zelda series timeline. Ocarina of Time and its use of melodic themes to identify different game regions has been called a reverse of Richard Wagner's use of leitmotifs to identify characters and themes. Ocarina of Time was so well received that sales increased for real ocarinas.
Shigeru Miyamoto, the man responsible for all these great games, did an interview with Nintendo Power sometime before the release of the Ocarina of Time, and this is what he said. Ocarina of Time is the first story, then the original Legend of Zelda, then Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, and finally A Link to the Past. It's not very clear where Link's Awakening fits in. It could be any time after Ocarina of Time.
The success of the Legend of Zelda series has resulted in Guinness World Records awarding it 5 world records in Guinness World Records Gamers Edition 2008. These records include highest rated game of all time, first game with a battery-powered save feature, and longest-running action-adventure series. In an interview conducted by Nintendo Dream in 2006, it was revealed that there are 2 parallel universes in the Zelda chronology.
In the beginning, 3 gods of wisdom, courage, and power create the land of Hyrule and leave behind a symbol of their power, the Triforce. It remains hidden away in a golden land where legends say anyone who finds it, all their wishes will come true. However, it's found by a thief by the name of Ganondorf Dragmire, and because of his evil nature, it transforms him into the monster we know as Ganon and the Golden Land into the Dark World. While he rules this Dark World, he also tries to take over Hyrule, but 7 wise men seal the gate to the Dark World and trap Ganon inside.
An American cartoon was created based on the Zelda games and aired in 1989. There have also been manga adaptations created in Japan since 1997. The Legend of Zelda, the first game of the series, was first released in Japan on February 21, 1986 on the Famicom Disk System. The second game, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, was released for the Famicom Disk System in Japan in January 1987 and for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1988. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past was released 4 years later and added the concept of an alternate dimension, the Dark World. It was later re-released for the Game Boy Advance on December 9, 2002 in North America on a cartridge with 4 swords, the first multiplayer Zelda, and then through Nintendo's Virtual Console service on January 22, 2007. The next game, Link's Awakening, is the first Zelda for Nintendo's Game Boy handheld and the first set outside Hyrule and to exclude Princess Zelda. It was re-released in full color as a launch title for the Game Boy Color in 1998 as Link's Awakening DX. The series then made the transition to 3D with Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64, which was released in November 1998. This game was initially known as Zelda 64. Ocarina of Time was re-released on the Nintendo GameCube in 2002, and its follow-up, Majora's Mask, was released in November 2000. The next 2 games in the series were Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, and they were released simultaneously for the Game Boy Color. The next game released in the series was Four Swords Adventures for the GameCube, released in early 2004. Minish Cap was released for the Game Boy Advance in November 2004. In November 2006, Twilight Princess was released as the first Zelda game on the Wii, and later, in December 2006, on the Nintendo GameCube, the console for which it was originally developed.
The fans clearly have a love for Zelda, and that's what drives all these theories about the Zelda world. Because the games are so good, that's what makes people care so much. But
the two most recently released Zelda games are Phantom Hourglass, which was released in 2007, and The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, which was released in 2009. The worldwide success and popularity of the Legend of Zelda series has led to many influences in popular culture. The series has also been parodied, including an episode of the Powerpuff Girls, which features the mayor of Townsville playing a spoof of Ocarina of Time, and a Season 3 episode of Robot Chicken. Professional wrestler Cody Rhodes is a fan of the series and has stated he replays A Link to the Past yearly. His wrestling boots feature a Triforce symbol. Actor-comedian Robin Williams revealed in an interview with Jimmy Fallon that his daughter Zelda Ray is named after the title character in the series.
Zelda started out as just a little elf kid running around stabbing bad guys, and it was a classic little adventure game, but today it's a juggernaut. It has a cult following that's out of this world. That's why we've seen Zelda characters in Soul Calibur and Super Smash Bros. The end goal is that the game is fun, challenging, has some unique twists, and is a satisfying experience. So, instead of looking at all the Zelda games as a whole, you have to look at each one separately. After all, that's the way they are developed. It's not as though Zelda is like Lord of the Rings. Each Zelda game is a different legend and a different experience. You don't have to play the first one to get the story of the third one or even the 13th one, and that's really lucky for those who haven't been able to play them all, which is the case for most people. Zelda games are not meant to connect right down the line. They're not meant to tell the entire history of Hyrule. They're meant to be single, fun experiences.